It is 9:15 this morning, and I am on my way right now to Legacy Breast Health Center to get a sensor inserted for my upcoming surgery. And I'm feeling a little bit nervous about it because I also have a lump that has come up in one of my lymph nodes here on my collarbone that is on the same side as the side that I had cancer, and it's not sore at all. It's starting to really concern me, and so I'm gonna have them check that out as well. So it is 10:15 in the morning, and I just finished up with an appointment at the Breast Health Center, and they inserted what's called a Savvy Scout into the two places of interest to help my surgeon be as precise as possible when I go into the OR. They told me that there's nothing that they could do about the space here on my collarbone right now and in that lymph node because, there's no orders for it and everything has to be approved ahead of time, which is slightly frustrating. Like, I understand for them and I'm not upset about it, but it is a little frustrating, and that has been a frustrating part of navigating this entire diagnosis and the medical system in and of itself. Like, having to wait for insurance to approve certain things, and the miscommunication between like my oncology team and the people who are doing imaging and things like that. Like, I know in the grand scheme of things, it's not taking that long, but it really feels like it's taking a long time. I'm just shy of 2 months into this process. And so, it could be longer than what it is, but at this point it is just a little frustrating in the regard that, I know that I have cancer, and like the next step is to remove the cancer before any other treatment can happen. And it feels like it's taking so long to even get to that step of removal. And again, like, it's all with perspective, right? So I am complaining, but complaining with perspective, because I know that in the grand scheme of things, it really hasn't been that long. It's only been just shy of 2 months, because it was May 22nd that I was diagnosed, and today is July 18th or something like that, July 16th. I don't know, some like early July. I don't actually know the date today. So I had the Savvy Scout placed, and this is only my second visit ever into a breast health center. And I didn't realize how trauma inducing the first visit actually was. I went in to get a diagnostic mammogram because I'm only 41 years old and my insurance doesn't cover mammograms on a regular basis until 45. So this was a special order diagnostic mammogram, first ever that I'd had done, and that led to an immediate ultrasound and then to an immediate biopsy. And I left the office that first time in total shock and, numb in the places, because they have to use lidocaine in order to, locally numb the spaces where they're doing the biopsy and things like that. And, you know, then I found out like, and like the procedure in and of itself wasn't explained really well to me. Like, I did not know that when they took the biopsy that they leave something that's called a clip inside of you, that it's so that it's like easier to locate the spaces of interest for further imaging and things like that. Nobody explained that to me. And then this appointment in and of itself, like, I did not know that I had this appointment until I got a text message confirmation saying that you have a ultrasound appointment, please confirm. And I was like, what do I have an ultrasound appointment for? And so I had to call and talk to the nurse yesterday about it, to see like what the ultrasound was for and what they were going to be doing. And then the radiologist today did a really great job of explaining everything and like what was happening. So the Savvy Scout is approximately the size of a piece of jasmine rice, and it has a little antenna on it that just allows the surgeon to utilize further imaging and technology to get the most precise location for, you know, for surgery. And the radiologist did a great job explaining everything today. And I think that part of that is just in my, you know, honesty with the nurse yesterday and telling them, like, when I had the biopsy, nobody explained to me that something was being left behind in my body. Nobody explained to me really what was happening. And I know that it's true for myself that I tend to have more fear and anxiety in the unknown than in the known, right? So having that full explanation was really helpful. And the ability to really advocate for myself in like what's happening with this lymph node or whatever. Like, I mentioned it to the MRI tech when I went in to get my MRI, and they said, okay, we'll note it in your chart. And then when I was speaking to my surgeon, my doctor's nurse, I mentioned it to her as well. And the explanation that I got was, well, you know, sometimes when we mess with other lymph nodes, because they, you know, did a biopsy on the axillary lymph node underneath my armpit because it was of interest. Sometimes when we mess with lymph nodes, like, it can make other lymph nodes angry. Well, that's all well and good, but this doesn't feel like an angry lymph node, right? Like, it moves easily underneath my fingers. It's grown in size in the last 3 or 4 months. You know, I've had something here for a little while. I thought that it was a cyst, but now that I know that I have cancer in my breast, I'm concerned about this up here as well, because these lymph nodes feed directly into your breast. And in the last, like, probably 2 weeks, I've been having a fair amount of pain associated, like, right along my collarbone. And it's really hard when I'm working with medical professionals sometimes to help them understand that, like, I move my body for a living. I know what muscle soreness feels like. I know what injury soreness feels like. And this feels like neither of those. It's very specific as to when and how it feels. And sometimes this has been my biggest frustration with the medical industry overall, is that sometimes, you know, I talk about things and I kind of get, I don't often get listened to when I'm dealing with allopathic medicine practitioners, because they kind of discount the fact, like, the idea that I might know a thing or two about anatomy and about my body in and of itself. Like, I'm very in tune with what's happening with my system, and as I've done more work in unpacking this cancer diagnosis, I knew for a long while that something wasn't right. And fear and, fear of life not being able to continue the way that it was really held me back from seeking a further diagnosis until, even though I've been working on preventative medicine and I've been working on my body like my entire life, I really like was putting off getting my breast checked out. But I had been feeling, since I had COVID in October of 2021, I have felt fairly fatigued on a fairly regular basis. And it was really easy to kind of write it off at the beginning as, at the beginning as, just being a part of healing from COVID, because I was like pretty sick from COVID. I was in bed and unable to do much of anything for about 10 days. And so, yeah, I mean, and then as I started to feel better from that, like I got COVID for a second time last summer, and that one was much easier overall on my system. I actually wouldn't have known that I had COVID. I had some weird pain in my hips, but other than that, I did not feel sick at all. I did a preemptive cautionary test before doing 5 days of summer camp with kids, because I wanted to make sure that I was keeping, the kids safe and things like that. And I had been feeling a little more tired than normal, but it's also easy for me to chalk that up to, just being tired because it's summer, because in the Pacific Northwest where we live, it doesn't get dark until 10 o'clock. And so, or like 9:30 during the, height of the summer season. And so it's really easy to just like be out and doing things until that time. And then you lose track of time and you're like, oh, it's 9:30. And by the time you actually get to sleep, it's 11. And then you have to get up. And so the days are just very full and very long. And so it's easy for me to kind of chalk that, tiredness up to that. And so fatigue was one symptom that I was writing off as something else. And the more that I've kind of read about other women's diagnosis and things like that, I'm now kind of questioning as to whether the fatigue may have actually been a part of what was happening in my system. Along with some other like mild symptoms that it was really easy for me to write off as it being something else, but that other women have shared. They experienced similar symptoms prior to their diagnosis. So anyway, all that to say, like, I feel like I know my body really well, even though sometimes I ignore what's happening in my body, I guess, for lack of better words, because of fear, because of, a variety of reasons. But this space that's on my collarbone is definitely concerning to me because of the way that it feels and, other things that are going on with it. And so it was disappointing today to like not have them be able to immediately check it out, and feel like I'm having to wait again, kind of in the unknown. So the next appointment that I know that I have is on Monday, which is a pre-op appointment. And that's with my surgical oncologist. And then from there, I will have an appointment with a medical oncologist once we finalize a plan for surgery. I still am uncertain whether I'm having a lumpectomy or a mastectomy. I have some more questions for my surgical team on kind of percentage reoccurrence rates and things like that because of my age. I know that if I get a lumpectomy that I 100% have to have radiation. And then they want me to be on hormone blockers for 5 to 10 years, which would immediately put me into menopause and, experiencing menopausal symptoms and things like that, which honestly, like, I'm not ready for. I'm only 41 years old, and I thought I'd have another 10 or 20 years before I really was experiencing those symptoms. And then, the other option is to get a mastectomy. And if I do that, then radiation may or may not happen. They would still want me to be on the hormone blocking medication. But my biggest question is, like, what is the percentage of reoccurrence, with this treatment plan, and like what I'm willing to do? Because I'm not really like keen to jump into the pharmaceutical game. That is another video altogether about how I feel about big pharma and just pharmaceuticals in general. I believe in science, and I know that we've made incredible leaps and bounds in diagnostics and, medical practices and things like that. But I'm also just like not super keen to put something in my body that may or may not improve my chances of reoccurrence. One of my students who's currently going through breast cancer treatment, her doctor, and the conversation, she actually has the same doctor as I do, but the conversation that they had for her particular treatment was that if she decided to go on the hormone medication, I think they were wanting her to go on tamoxifen, that, it cut her chances from an 8% reoccurrence to a 4% reoccurrence if she was on the medication. So 8%, if she doesn't take the medication, 4% if she does take the medication. Now, she's quite a bit older than I am. She's in her late 60s. And so we've had long conversations about that. And like, she is, sitting on the brink of like whether she actually wants to take it or not. Like, if there's only an 8% chance of reoccurrence, do I really want to pump myself full of, these hormone blockers that have a lot of other side effects for which they then just prescribe other medication? I don't know. Or do I want to get the surgery, get the immediate, like, therapies that I need to get, and then look at Eastern medicine and holistic medicine moving forward from there? I've been working very closely with my naturopath in this entire journey as well. Diet, preventative medicine has always been the top of my game. Not that it saved me from my cells in my body forgetting who they are and turning into cancer. But I digress. That is, we can't predict it. I don't have the gene that causes cancer, so this is just a straight up anomaly of my cells forgetting who they are and overgrowing and turning into something else. So there's still, a lot of questions kind of in how I'm going to move forward, but my overall plan and my initial idea is to get surgery. And the type of surgery that I'm getting will depend on the pre-op appointment and the questions that I get answered. And then moving forward from there, looking at as a holistic and integrated approach as I possibly can, hoping to avoid pharmaceutical medications because of a variety of reasons. So yeah, that is kind of the update of where I am with treatment right now. I'm sure that there's going to be more to come over the next little bit. I'll probably make another video towards the beginning of next week after I have the pre-op appointment and get more questions answered as far as, you know, lumpectomy, mastectomy, radiation, no radiation, what's happening with my collarbone, all of that. So thank you for watching. If you are not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you know when I post new videos. Until next time, stay healthy, happy, and glowing. And thank you so much for being a part of this journey. I love you all so much. Take good care.